we're in natural flow. That's why we do these things, you know?
We are very much in the flow.
Yes.
So, Barry and I are wondering if any of you have tried speed dating or if you're thinking about trying speed dating. So, we're going to talk about all the ins and outs about speed dating today. We'd like to welcome you to the newsstreamingnetwork.com, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and podcast #1 internet singles.network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry, and Happy New Year to you.
Christine, Happy New Year to you too. Although we're past the New Year now, but we're in flow, so this is good.
Yes, our first show of 2026. I'm getting used to saying the new year.
Indeed.
So I'm a fan of speed dating. What I'm not a fan of is people not being prepared, because I think often they leave very, 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 very disappointed with what they perceive of what they think should be the results and the outcome. And it often isn't what they think it should be. And so if you can come, as we often talk about, what could you be your realistic expectations of what could be the outcome, you could have a much better time. What do you think, Barry?
Yeah, I think there is this presumption people have sometimes when they go on speed dating, that amongst all the speed dates they have, there'll be the one that they want be sitting there. And I've really learned over the years, because I think additionally I was that way too when I went speed dating events, was this, which one is it going to be sort of thing. And what it really should come down to, it's almost like it's data acquisition. If you're being mechanical about it, I'm being very mechanical for a reason. It's like the idea you want to go not to be emotionally invested in everyone you meet, but to learn. And this is the key part for me about speed dating, which we'll get into more detail. But speed dating isn't just about learning all the people are out there, but it's also about learning how you feel when you meet people out there. So it's the internal journey as much as the external journey. So we'll get into that, I know.
My goodness, yes. Yes. If every experience you have in the world, and certainly in the world of dating, and specifically with speed dating, could be just viewed as a practice, because often we're much kinder to ourselves when we're learning something new. So I was in Washington State with my family over the holiday, and my introverted sister-in-law has taken up line dancing lessons. And it's funny because everybody says, do you go to bars? And I said, well, then you don't know my sister-in-law, because she takes lessons at the library and in the senior center. Yeah, this wonderful teacher reserves these rooms. And the thing about line dancing, and I'm sure other things, but this is, you really have to think in your head about where your feet are going to go next. I attributed it kind of like learning a language, where you have to keep translating in your brain from your native language to the new language. And eventually you can start just thinking the word and it comes out of your mouth. And that was how the line dancing was. You could think step ball change and your feet know where to go, or you could think sachet and your feet know where to go. And we give ourselves a little more grace about that when we're learning a new activity or a new language. But for some reason, we don't give ourselves grace about anything to do with dating. For some reason, we think we should just be good at it right away. And if we're not, there must be something really terribly, horribly wrong with us. And we put this in front of us with speed dating as well. I love that you're laughing, because you hear this too, right, Barry?
And experienced it as well. I mean, I'm not going to speak just about other people, definitely owning it for myself. It's interesting because I've been to quite a lot of speed dating events, because being in the industry and a lot of friends of mine who run those events, and so they like putting me in. And the thing is, what I also notice for myself, again, internal reference points and declaring it, is depending who's inviting me, like who's running the event, will sort of impact the level of excitement I have of whether I want to go or not, because I sort of know their audience, sort of thing. And the thing about these dates is interesting because, and in some ways it translates also to dating apps. There is this thing where you're spending a moment with each person. Now with dating apps, it's a lot less time than you do when you're doing a speed dating, because it could be, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it's going to be. So there's a chance to impact more. But the thing about it is how do you gauge, and again, how do you feel when you're in front of somebody new, what's really going on? Because the challenge also is, just like doing dating apps, speed dating is also a very condensed and finite moment to get to know somebody. So can you really gauge if the person is close or not? I mean, obviously, when it's clearly not the right person, that's easy to gauge on. But then there's also people who are neighboring; they're close to what it is you want. So then there's going to be a question of, you know, how clearly can you discern when you have only a moment's glimpse to know this person in front of you?
Yep. So I've met a few people who host speed dating events, and at first they asked me if I would come ahead of time and teach people. And I said, well, I don't think that would be very helpful because I'd like people to feel a little more prepared than just a half hour ahead of time. So what I've worked out with them is that I have them talk to me ahead of time. We charge them a very small fee that the host and I share. And I have them go through, if you were going to meet somebody and you would want to spend more time with them, what would be the top 3 things that you would need to know about them in order to want to spend more time with them? Like Barry has mentioned that he needs somebody that has a passport that has a few stamps in it, that they've actually ventured outside of their neighborhood.
Yes.
Mine is that they've done some personal growth classes, that they've really looked into themselves and thought, I think there's more about me to learn and more about other people to learn. So then you would need to craft a question about, I'm so curious to learn about this person to find out if they fit this criteria. So if you think of, is it religion or family or travel or education? And so then you come up with an I'm so curious question. So you have a point to this very short time that you have to ask somebody a question, to listen, to learn about their answer. And then you have the top 3 things that you would like to share about yourself, to be comfortable sharing first, and then see what their response is second. And the whole reason you're doing that is to practice not to get matched, because everybody goes to get matched. And
Right.
that's, you have no control over if the other person's going to match with you or not. So if you just go to practice saying the I'm curious questions with them, revealing little things about you, you will leave feeling successful instead of the whole thing was a big waste because I didn't match with anybody. A
In
really
fact,
different perspective.
yeah, I would say, in fact, that will be the best goal to have, is if you want to succeed at speed dating, is having your awareness and in your mind and in your focus that you want to leave without having any matches, so that you can be clean and also not be attached. And yes, to have your questions answered, but also part of the joy of being on speed dating, you get to hear perspectives from 5, 10, 20 other people, which can be really good homework to practice with and to study with. So, and like you say about, for me, what passports, even on the dating apps for me, if I notice that the person whose profile I'm looking at, if she has her hometown and where she lives being less than 10 miles apart, I have a little concern. You know, if they said that they've traveled to other countries, that's great. But a lot of times people don't move very far from home, which is a very finite view of the world. And I have a definite thing about worldview, like you do personal growth. I've been in personal growth for 40 plus years, so that's in my list as well. But having a worldview where they've been outside of their home, particularly to other countries, is a great personal growth experience too, because it changes your perspective on life and other people. So you don't think life is only the way it is in the finite view you've had from where you live, where you grew up, sort of thing. But yes, to go on the speed dates, to intend to come away with understanding, feedback, maybe a couple of connections, but no match that you're fixated on having, is a much healthier way to approach it in the first place. Absolutely.
Because often what I hear is, oh, there was no connection, there was no chemistry. And as we have said a lot on this show, if you only go with that, it's not going to last. It's not the kind of thing that my brother and sister-in-law celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary this week. And they're still quite enamored with each other and like each other a lot and can't wait to see each other at the end of the day. And so chemistry is not the only thing that's kept them together all these years. There's been a whole bunch of other things. So you need to find out if you would be interested in this person, if they would be interested in you. So it can't just be the chemical reaction that you have to another person. And so really, when Barry says you have 5 minutes or less, you need to use the time really effectively. And if you're going to spend this precious time of yours, how do you do it the best for you? not to get matched with another person necessarily. That's like a bonus. It's that it's a way for you to have a concentrated time of practicing with a whole bunch of people. I have a client that's an amazing networker person, and she's now going to an event with 1,000 people. And her goal is to walk away with at least 150 qualified business cards. I thought that was a really terrific goal. So if you
Yeah.
approach speed dating with that, you're going to find out something interesting, whether they're your person or not, something you didn't know was happening in the world, or a job, or a career, or a hobby that's out in the world with something, one thing in all these conversations that you've had. You found 5 things in all these conversations. If that was your goal, make that your goal. You will feel successful, even if you didn't get a match. Go with a very different goal, which people don't think when they're going speed dating, right?
No, because speed dating has this presumption that people make up, especially because frankly, some people promoting it put that intention out there. You know, find your one at our event. You've got to come to our event because we're gonna have the only place you're gonna find your one, sort of thing. You know, they really market it that way. It's the whole focus.
Yeah.
And I know, and again, I think this is maybe it's a masculine thing. I don't think it's just me. I think other men have the same thing too. Is that we tend to find if we go into a room where there's all these women in the room, whether it's a big event or it's a bar or wherever it is, and we're scanning for the best looking one that we think is going to be the most attractive. It's our radar, the way we do things. And it is sometimes a very small pond. so the array is interesting. So it's challenging, I think, for us men in some ways to be that detached. I think women have a desire to connect emotions. One of the things that women drive forward is one of their natural gifts. So for them to be detached as well is not always easy. But speaking from the male perspective, to not be attached to having a result, like we said already in the show, really being that unattached and be that willing to learn something without having to get something necessarily. So it becomes easier because the learning, yeah, as we both said, you know, coming away with things you've learned, things you've discovered is worth the price of entry, so to speak. And yes, if you get a couple of numbers at the end of it, great, but that's not the primary focus. The focus is to enjoy your experience there, getting to know somebody. And also, again, because it's about learning ourselves, I've watched recently some conversations I've had where I didn't do it intentionally, but unintentionally, I became very one-sided, meaning that I spoke about what I did, but I didn't chase down and ask them what they were like. And part of me was like, that was embarrassing. I should have known better, sort of thing. So to go on speed dating events, and to notice our behavior, especially because it's going to be rapid fire, repeat, we may start noticing some common things that we do we might want to change. So having that willingness to look at ourselves in the mirror is a good thing.
How introspective of you normally, Mr. Selby. And I love that you point out, because it is a natural inclination for the masculine person, because sometimes women are in their masculine, about the getting. So how do you curb that? Because you're in producing, you're in production as a normal character part of you. So how do you curb that to say, gosh, I'm going to sit back and be a little more relaxed about this goal-oriented part that drives my testosterone? That would be a challenge, I would think.
Well, I would say that it is because one of the things about the masculine is we are goal oriented. So we're always about fixating and getting results.
Yeah.
I've noticed, and this is my own personal journey because it's just because I've been on this journey for a long time, is that I'm really much more about witnessing what's going on. I've learned the fulfillment on a lot of ways is really just my own journey myself. So I don't need somebody for that, although because I'd love somebody to jump in. That shift from need to willingness is probably the biggest gift I give myself, because when I was driven by need, it was always like, is she the one? Is she the one? Is she the one? Always, all the time, which first of all is not attractive to women because they can sense that. But secondly, it kept me out of my own space. It kept me pulled out of my center. And so moving back into center to be more of a witness, as I said, to observe and to be participating from a place of detachment, which is the lesson I keep teaching myself and other people, I found it much easier to move through that experience without having get caught up in the tangles of people's perceptions. So that's how I've learned to do it myself.
Very good point. And what I have found for the feminine is that we're not always good about telling about ourselves. We're good at asking you questions and wanting to feel connected to you and interviewing you, and we want you to ask us questions back. And it's not always easy in a speed dating atmosphere because everybody's nervous and feeling the pressure of the time, which is another reason to come prepared with the 3 things to ask them and the 3 things to tell them, to have everybody be prepared, that it still feels a little more conversationally, and you make sure that you're going to get your points across.
Right.
And be clear about who you are and what you're saying, and that it's okay that you're not for everybody, that you don't couch who you are. You don't soft sell. You say it in a nice way. You don't blurt everything out, but you want your person to hear who you are.
Yeah.
If you soft sell that I'm a world traveler and I'm on my 3rd passport because I've filled it up so much, you want the person to be excited about that. That's that person. And somebody else who goes, oh my God, I can't imagine doing that, to hear that, because they're
Right.
not your person. Or the person that, pulls their trailer everywhere and likes stopping at the national park that they see off on the sign. That you want somebody that thinks that's exciting, instead of me who would go, ew, ew, ew. That would so not be me. You can't even put my suitcase in there, darling. So
Right.
to speak about the top things that are really important to you. Don't not say them for fear of turning somebody off.
That's the other part too, is that it's really challenging sometimes when you're on dating sites as well as speed dating to sort of become needy enough that you'll forego some of your needs. We talked in previous shows quite a few times about, what are your top requirements? What is it you need to have? What are the things you must have in a relationship? It doesn't change when on speed dates. So to underscore what you said, it absolutely is critical that when you go on these speed dates, you do speak the truth. You don't try to fit somebody else's model of you. Because what happens, especially if you've got 20, 15 speed dates in one evening, you'll be so conflicted by the end of the night because you've been changing who you are to fit somebody else's vision, all these different people, trying to please them, which is an old habit some people have of people pleasing, that nobody wins. And so definitely, like you're saying, if you are owning what you are about, what you've been through, how you experience life, somebody out there, and a lot of people are going to go, no way, but some people out there are going to go, that's so cool, I want to know more. That's where it works, because you're not trying to fit somebody else's paradigm. You're being honest to yourself, and somebody else is feeling that and wants to be part of that conversation. So yes, absolutely, own who you are and what you're about, because it's frankly the biggest path through to get where you want to go.
There's a lid for every pot, right, Barry?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to be taking a very quick commercial break. And if this has piqued your interest and you would love to talk to Barry or I about speed dating or any other phase of your dating, the way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the page and click on the What's Holding You Back from Love questionnaire, and it'll take you to my online calendar, and you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me. And I'd be happy to go over any of the questions that you have about your dating life. You can also send me a quick email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com. And how would they reach you, Barry?
Well, similar to Christine, I have a website, which is my name, Barry Selby. So barryselby.com is where you find my site. And there's a whole bunch of my stuff on my site, which I'll tell you about at the end of the show. But the basic option to get in touch with me on that page is go to the top of the page where it says Let's Chat. Click on that button, and that will take you to my questionnaire and also my calendar. So you'll be able to get on my calendar. We have a 20-minute conversation, usually over Zoom, so we can have a face-to-face chat, even when we're not local. And I can see where you are and what you're looking for, and if I can help you or not. It's very simple and very clean. You can also drop me an email at barry@barryselby.com if you want to send any questions or any thoughts you want to share with me. And again, we'll tell you all about all the rest of our stuff at the end of the show.
So we're going to take a quick break for our wonderful new streaming network.com that produces and distributes our wonderful Let's Talk Dating show. And we'll be back in just a few seconds to continue the Let's Talk Dating show with Christine and Barry, talking about how to succeed at speed dating.
See you in a moment.
Hello, we're back with Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. And today we're talking about how to succeed at speed dating. Because if you participated in speed dating, you might not have felt very successful. And if you haven't yet, yay, you're going to learn about how to be successful before you even stick your toe in there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because I have a friend of mine who claims she started the speed dating craze back in the 90s. I'm not sure it's true or not, but she definitely has been around since the beginning. But speed dating has been around for a while, and it really was an account. I mean, this, to be honest, I know speed dating, if memory serves, started before smartphones came out. So it's been going for quite a long time. And this is before we had, texting and everything else. You had the old flip phones and things where you had to punch 17 keys to just get the letter F on your phone. Remember the old texting back in the old days?
Yes.
The T9 texting, yeah. So speed dating has history and has tenure in terms of in the dating arena. And over the years, some people have been on many, many speed dates and never learned any lessons. So the things that we're talking about in this show, if you've never been on speed dates, you'll be ahead of the curve, because most people who've been on speed dates didn't learn these things along the way, except through many years of practice and mistakes and time that wasn't spent well. So our goal is to help anybody who has been on speed dates, who hasn't been on speed dates, becomes better the next time they go on one. So that's kind of the summary we're putting it to. And just one more piece on to that. As we said about going in a way that's detached when you go to speed dates, you're not trying to get a particular result of having to find the one at a speed date. The thing is that you might meet one there who is, but that's the bonus, that's the gravy, that's the surprise. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is go to speed dating with the idea to come away with good information, maybe some new experiences, maybe some new connections. And if you meet somebody who's really special, that's like in the win column, that's not something you intended. Keep it very loose in the sense of having a loose attachment to that sort of goal.
And really, I mean, when I went to lunch the first time with my late husband, I had no idea he was going to turn into a husband. I liked him. I liked how I felt with him. I knew that I'd like to see him again. I knew by the end of the lunch he wanted to see me too. That's all I knew. And for a while, that's all I knew. That each time I saw him and heard from him, I looked forward to hearing from him, and I looked forward to seeing him again. But I had no idea he was somebody that special and that I would give my heart to him and I would want to marry him. So all the goal is, first, is that you're learning something about you and that you're learning something about them, and that you're not feeling like a failure because you learned stuff. I mean, that's really the goal, is that you learned stuff. And if you meet somebody that you mark the paper, because that's what happens, is you say, I would like to exchange numbers with them, and you give it to the host. And then if the other person indicates they'd like to exchange numbers with you too, because it's totally up to them too, for whatever reason, they say yes or no, and they say yes as well, yay. It still doesn't mean much. You still don't know much about each other. You saw each other for 5 minutes. You hopefully asked and answered at least three questions in that 5 minutes to say, yes, I'd like to have a longer conversation with you. They're still not a big deal yet. I mean, I knew I wanted to see my late husband another time, and we'd had a little over an hour, like an hour and 10-minute lunch. That was it. We both needed to go back to work. So don't even put a ton of energy into that. Like, yay, I liked talking to them for 5 minutes. I think I'd like to spend an hour with them and see if it continues. But I don't know. It might be a dud after an hour, or I might want to talk to them for 2 hours. Yeah. Because what happens is we're so ready to stop dating. I get it. I get that you want to be in a relationship so badly. It's not bad. It's just unhelpful to fixate on that. So to say practicing is what's going to get you there, and not getting too excited before there's a reason is what's going to get you there. So yay, you get to move to the next step, but with this much energy and excitement, because we want to just get so excited and be done with this and fall in love and have them be the one. But that's not generally how it works. And
Right.
how great people could turn into the one, but you aren't going to know right then. So just keep learning more. Be excited about learning more about you the next time you see them and learning more about them. That's
Yeah.
why you keep crashing and getting disappointed and getting discouraged and getting frustrated, because that's usually why people give up. But they give up because they had unrealistic expectations for this thing that couldn't hold that. It wasn't, it's not the container to hold that much emotion yet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about speed dating is almost, because I know maybe just me, I'm not sure other men have the same thing too. If you don't come away with any connections and you don't get somebody else's number, you feel like you failed at it somehow. You didn't accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
I've often looked at, and this is just a reframe I've used a lot of times, is sometimes I look like I dodged a bullet because I meet somebody, and this has come up a few times for me about meeting someone's attractive. In dating apps, I see pictures and they're made up beautifully. But what I've noticed, and this is sidetracking a bit from speed dating for a second, but the idea of meeting somebody through a certain lens. Because speed dating events usually oftentimes in restaurants or bars where the lighting isn't great. So you tend to make up stuff about the person because you don't see them in 3 dimensions in daylight, just to be transparent. The dating apps have the same sort of thing because you're looking at pictures. And I see, you see 2 or 3 pictures that look really amazing, but then you see them in a picture where they're not made up or they're not fixed on the camera. Maybe you're seeing the full body and you're going, that's not what I thought they looked like. The same is true on speed dates. So you might be initially thinking this is just the perfect one. I want to make sure that I love them. And you give a number in, as you said, to the host, you don't get a number back. And part of you might go, but I wish I had. You might realize by not knowing you've actually dodged a bullet. So just to say from the point of view that when you come to a speed dating event without any numbers, that isn't a bad thing. So just enjoy the experience for what it is and be open to the possibility that either 1, that you do meet somebody, or 2, that you didn't meet somebody you didn't want to meet. It works either way.
And keep chalking it up to practice. Don't give up if the first one you don't get any numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I have found, that when people have come to the speed dating event where now they've met me and I've given them these instructions and they've gone and done it and they're like, oh, wow, it was different. I did feel more confident. Because that's the other thing. If you come really nervous, I get people to switch their voice, their word they're using, because nervous and excitement can feel pretty similar. You can have a beating heart and sweaty palms when you feel excited too. So could we have you just be excited? Do you really think something's going to go wrong? That's usually when you feel nervous. Is it just because it's unknown and you don't really know? Well, let's get you some education so you'll know a little more, but you still don't know the outcome. You could be excited about the outcome. And mostly the outcome is you're learning. You're going to be better at this the next time. I promise. Every time you practice, the better you look at a sport, look at a job. Everything, if you keep practicing and doing, I know how to do this better this time. I know how to do it better. I'm learning how to think more clearly about this. I'm becoming more conscious of how I'm doing this. You'll just keep getting better at it. So keep doing the speed dating over and over and over, because you really will get better. And there's a new review going up on my website about a guy I met this way. He came to a speed dating thing. He hired me, and he's now couldn't be more madly in love. He's wrote me this long review. And that's how we met. Was he started coaching with me because we met through one of the speed dating. He hired me because he met me through one of her events. So keep practicing. Don't give up. If you do this over and over and over and keep practicing, you aren't going to get worse. Generally, you don't get worse if you keep practicing. And the thing I've been saying is, there's some things when I was a kid, I had friends, my parents had friends, their daughter, I didn't understand this when I was that age. She peaked before the Olympics, so she couldn't go. She'd reached her whatever. But you can't peak at practicing dating. You can't get too good at practicing dating. You can't over practice. So keep practicing. That's my latest thing. You can't over practice.
Right. In fact, I'll say it this way, because some people think that getting lots of dates is how they succeed and how they become overdone. It's like, no. There is no, the only success in speed dating is you've been through the journey of speed dating. That's the only success there is. Yeah. Because there's no guarantees in this. It's not like you have to go for a medal, like when you're prize winning, you achieved a certain goal. No. And so, because some people think that when they go speed dating events, they want to get 5 numbers sort of thing. That's their way of success. Like, no. Speed dating is an experience in itself that you go through. If you go through the process and you're really, again, as I said earlier, like be a witness, be unattached, and you enjoy the experience and you get no numbers, or you get 6 numbers, either one is still the same thing, which is you went through the experience. And if you can enjoy it that way and be really fulfilled, because most people who are in sports oftentimes are doing it because they love doing the sport, not necessarily because they want to win the medal. Some are just medal centric, but it's the idea is that when you're speed dating, because as you said, there are no prize winners. There's no gold medal to win at the end of it. It's just a journey you go on. Consider speed dating as another opportunity to explore what dating's about in a different and maybe a more expedient way than you would otherwise do it. So then it becomes its own value experience each time you do it.
It truly is a very concentrated way to practice.
Yeah.
And one of the really benefits about speed dating, at least the ones of the hosts that I have met, they work very diligently to have even numbers. Where a lot of the singles things, there's, 50 women and 5 men, where you really do get a chance to practice with even numbers. I mean, they start giving free to whoever it is they've got the lesser number of the gender to make sure that there's enough, which is really nice of them and diligent of them, so that you have even more people to practice with, where generally if you go to a singles event, the women don't have as many men to practice with. So that's another plus about going to speed dating, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. Speed dating is and it's funny because I haven't been to one in a long time. I haven't seen them post in a long time, but it is something that was really big again in the past 10, 15 years. But if you get invited to one, take it as an opportunity just to explore and to play and have fun, because it is, how do I say it? Like it's almost that the speed dating is like test driving, but like test driving lots and lots of cars very quickly. So then you can start getting a flavor, because the other part also, when you do speed dating and you meet different people you're attracted to on the other side of the table, you will start to get a theme going. You get to notice a certain trend, a certain way of being, and you also see what does and doesn't work. Because you can what you can do in speed dates, if you're nervous about meeting somebody and go up to somebody, you can practice all your lines on the speed dates and see what lands, what doesn't land. Because frankly, if these people aren't going to see them again, what's the loss? You can, there's no risk involved. Because the challenge for a lot of us, and maybe for the men, especially some of the men out there as well, is they're not comfortable approaching women in social environments comfortably and being able to flirt naturally. Speed dating is a great practice ground for this sort of stuff. So besides what we talked about so far, the idea you can play with speed dating as a test drive of your skill set, of your lines, so to speak, or anything else, if you want to be natural, you'll know very quickly what works and doesn't work. So the speed dating has a chance for you to learn not only just to get to know somebody, but to actually test drive your skills with them, so to speak, which can be a great practice as well. Because then when you get to the end of the evening, you may have learned 4 or 5 things that do work and about 6 or 7 that don't work. Then when you do go and meet somebody in a social environment, you'll be so much more comfortable. So use speed dating for your advantage that way.
Oh, Barry, that's such a good point. I love the test driving
Yeah.
mode. That's really perfect. And I do know that about you lovely men, is that you really like being good at stuff when you're in front of somebody that means something and matters to you.
Right.
So if you all could get the mindset that it's not that these aren't real people and you're not going to be polite and kind, but don't have a big energy about them, so that you can practice. You can practice talking in a new way. You can practice saying different things, about yourself, or ask them new questions just to practice, see how it lands, see how you feel saying it, see how you feel with their response. I mean, it's really lovely. I think it's a very good suggestion, and we all can just be a little braver, right? I think it's a really good chance to be brave.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a good time for us to feel kind of grown up.
Well, that's the thing also, is the speed dating in some ways, because it's like when we're out meeting somebody socially, and I've talked about this many times about first date should always be like a coffee date before you go on a real date. Speed dating is like a bridging between the two, because you're not doing something that casual, but you're also not on a formal date. So you get to really sort of explore what that feels like to be in that interim place in between the two. That's one of the reasons I like speed dating can be such a great place to explore, because again, like the test driving, you get to feel how you feel when you're out on dates. And so one of the benefits of being in a speed dating environment is you're removing the nervousness that might accompany you when you go on a first date again. So if you're in the dating arena and you constantly find yourself nervous and you go on first dates, a speed dating event might help you curb that, because you'll discover, oh, it's just another person. I can talk to them. I can be myself, or this line doesn't work. Let me try something different. So the speed dating environment is not something to be afraid of. In fact, it's something to be encouraged, because you may discover and learn how to be more effective in the dating arena beyond that when you do go on a, quote, real date.
More of the practicing, just more practicing. You can't over practice. We can't say that enough, right? You can't over practice dating.
Indeed.
Well, we hope that this might have piqued your interest to think about speed dating, or if you've done speed dating in the past and felt like an abject failure and you want to learn how to do it better, Barry and I are here to be your cheerleaders and coach you into feeling much more successful at it.
Yes.
So again, if you'd like to speak to me about any of your dating qualms or questions or challenges that include speed dating or not, please go to my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. Scroll to the middle of the page and click on the questionnaire of what's holding you back from love. There's 10 brief questions about where you are now and where you'd like to be. And it'll give you access to my online calendar, and you can schedule a complimentary conversation with me at your convenience. Also, while you're on my website, I'd love for you to go to the top and download my free ebook. It has lots of interesting dating tips and techniques that I'd like to offer you for free. I'd love to hear what you think about it, and if you have any suggestions of the things that you'd like me to include in the 2.0 version that I'm working on. I'd also encourage you to join my mailing list. You'll get a repeat of this live podcast that we do every week delivered to your mailbox. I'd also want you to go to the bottom and look at all my social media, Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram and Pinterest and Twitter and YouTube. And if you click on YouTube, you'll see almost 270 podcasts that Barry and I have created together. You can also send me a private personal email at Christine@theperfectcatch.com and tell people how to reach you, Barry.
Well, as I mentioned at the halfway point, you can get to my site, which is my name, barryselby.com. And on my site, as I mentioned, at the top of the screen is where to get on my calendar. We can have a conversation through the chat button. At the bottom of the screen is an option to opt in. So that's like double it. There's a chance to opt in. It's like option to opt in. It sounded weird. To my email list. So you get the emails every week, which I send out, which usually includes a replay of the show and sometimes other things I'm working on, new offerings, new gifts and stuff like that as well. So definitely get my email list. At the middle of the screen is the first of my 2 quizzes, or actually assessments, as I call them. The first one is called the Relationship Readiness Assessment, and really is a chance for you to look at how are you prepared to date? How are you looking to be in a relationship? So you can click on that button, or you can go to barryselby.com/quiz. We'll take you that quiz, and you'll get an email back from me listing where you are and what lies ahead for you and what could work for you, as well as an invitation to reach out to me. The second quiz, which is not actually a button you can click on, but you can go directly to it, which is barryselby.com/self-quiz, which by hint being self-quiz is a self-relationship assessment. And that basically is a real reflection on your own journey of how ready are you for a relationship in terms of your relationship with yourself that maybe could have room for improvements, or there's tweaks along the way. This is a much deeper quiz, and so has a much deeper response. So not just getting an email from me, but you also get a PDF document you can download, which has a whole smorgasbord of teachings in it and useful things you can use in your dating experience. Either one of those quizzes, I recommend you both, because I'm very biased, will get you started on the road to dating in the first place. If you want to get more help, my book is on my site as well. And on the book page of my site, you can click on a little audio track at the top of the page, which is a AI-generated review of my book by 2 very smart-sounding people who are artificially generated. But it's about a 12, 30-minute conversation about my book, which gives you a good preview. And then you can order the book at the bottom of the page, which will take you to Amazon to buy it there. You can get it on hardcover, Kindle, or on ebook. What else? That's everything on my site. On social media, you find me under my name as well, Barry Selby, on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Pinterest, and on Blue Sky. And on Instagram and Threads, it's the real Barry Selby. And again, like Christine was saying, if you go to my YouTube channel, which is again youtube.com/Barry Selby, you'll find all the replays of the show, almost 270 of them, plus about 1,000 other videos I've done over the years, a whole bunch of stuff I've done up there. And also just a little plug, in case you haven't done it already. If you find me on Facebook or Instagram or on LinkedIn, I posted a video, like a reel, like a 2-minute video I posted about 3 or 4 days ago, which basically asks about the first book that changed your life. It's, again, not on topic about relationships, but it's something fun to explore and talk about, because when you're on a first date, you might want to ask somebody what was the first book that changed their life. Just an idea. So check out the video if you want to check it out, and then let me know what your thoughts, what your book it was. And I think that's everything. Oh, you can send me an email, of course, at barry@barryselby.com. I think that's everything.
And every week we're live here at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the times in between. And then you can watch us on repeat at Roku and also on YouTube. But you can take us with you, right, Barry, and listen.
Well, Christine did mention that we've done 270 podcasts together. It's actually 270 episodes, but they are now on the podcast platform because we now have an audio version. So you can go listen to us wherever you go when you're driving or going somewhere where you can't look at the screen. You subscribe to the YouTube, to our podcast on either Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts for Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. And you can listen to all our shows and binge listen if you wish to do so.
Yes, people tell me they're walking their dogs and cleaning their houses. They've been putting Christmas decorations and listening. So we'd love for you to review and like and share it with your friends and family that also have questions about their dating and relationships as well.
Absolutely.
And we'll be back next week with another interesting, fun, informative topic about dating and relationships.
See you then. Take care of yourself.
Bye for now.
Bye.